Hello, this is Geotech and welcome to another edition of the news here. First up, we've got LibreSOC, which is a system on chip that they're trying to produce, and this is based on OpenPower, which is the open ISA created by IBM. And so they've had plans to create a system on chip that's going to deliver 1280 by 720p at 25 FPS and hopefully deliver 5 to 6 gigaflops. This has been in the works for the past couple of years, and it's good to see that this project is still alive. And I know there's been a lot of system on chips in the works here. There's the Beagle RISC-V system on chip that is set to come out either later this year or sometime next year. It'll probably be a while. And so it's just good to see there's a lot of competition in this space, because you've got Raspberry Pi, which has been like a big success, and they're ARM-based. And then you have these RISC-V and even OpenPower system on chips in the works. It's just the power of when technology is open. There's a lot of cool things we could do, so that's good to hear. Ubuntu is working on a brand new installer, and they've actually had a really good installer previously, but it looks like that a lot of the code base for the previous installer is pretty hard to manage, and they want something that will be more adaptable and will work better with their new theme, especially the Yaru theme. And there's just like a lot of other built-in things that they can make it compatible with, like ZFS support, repair options, scrub rescue, advanced partitioning. But I mean, from what I'm seeing, at least the design looks somewhat nicer, maybe a little bit more modern looking. Sometime last week, there was an official announcement of a new Linux distro inspired by the iPad. Now, I know a lot of people in the Linux community like or prefer their UI be more desktop friendly, and they even hate the mobile design language, but I've always been a fan of GNOME and their quest to have a more convergent desktop environment. And so I welcome this JINGOS here. Tablets and mobile devices are just very popular, and I think they're going to increase in popularity even more. And I'd love to see I'd love to be able to have like a tablet and a phone and a desktop with very similar experience, hopefully with a GNOME-based OS. So I see that as a good thing. All right, and it looks like Microsoft has suspended donations for politicians who attempted to overturn the 2020 election. And so it looks like they're going to be suspending donations for the upcoming 2022 election for any members of Congress, state officials, and organizations that voted to object to the certification of electors in the 2020 election or supported attempting to overturn the election. And this is interesting news. Whether you agree or disagree with whether you think there was fraud in the election, I guess the interesting takeaway here for me is that it shows that a lot of these tech companies have a lot of power, and this is why I generally prefer that instead of big tech, we'd have a more decentralized internet, because companies have a lot of power right now. Valve is set to lose $4 million for patent infringement with the Steam controller. So this company, Ironburg Inventions, a subsidiary of Corsair Gaming, they have a patent for the back paddles that I guess it looks like is present on the Steam controller, and so they're making them pay. And that's what other companies like Microsoft, they do obtain a license from the company to include them in their special Xbox Elite controllers. And I guess with the Steam controller launched by Valve, they did not get a license, which kind of sucks, you know. This is why technology should be open, so you don't have to deal with things like that. You know, it could allow a company to improve those back paddles or change them, you know, create a fork of that design. It would be really cool if they could do that. So Google has shut down their internal game dev studio, and they're going to be focusing more on the Stadia tech itself. A lot of people were freaking out about this because they were thinking that Google is shutting it down because maybe Stadia is not doing well as a platform, but it looks like they're just wanting to focus more on the technology behind Stadia, maybe incentivize third-party developers to create content or create games on their platform. You know, I'm not surprised, and I'm pretty sure Google will eventually develop their own internal dev studio once Stadia becomes bigger and there's a lot of companies on Stadia, or a lot of companies releasing games on Stadia. There's eventually going to be competitors, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to release their games exclusively on those platforms, kind of like what you're seeing in the streaming companies like Netflix versus Disney Plus. They're starting to have exclusive content, you know, first-party content, and even though Google is shutting it down now, eventually they will. You know, it's kind of like what they did with Android. They created the platform. Once the platform became popular, now they started releasing their own Google Pixel and trying to compete. So that's interesting. But anyways, I think that's about it. Let me know your thoughts on all this news that you've heard here today, and let me know what you agree with or disagree. And I will see you all next time.